setting the tone for the panel discussion.
Sure.
So the topic of panel discussion is going to be RE Cloud SOL Meet, Renewable Cloud Solutions, Intelligent Enterprise Asset Management, Cloud-based success solutions to simplify and create future business strategies. So we have eminent speakers who have joined us. Mr. Somashekar TH, who is an MD and CEO at Environment Technologies, who's also going to be the session chair. Mr. Rao Rajendra Singh, who is a specialist in data and AI from Microsoft. We have Mr. Tejpreet Chopra, who is the president and CEO at Bharat Light and Power. We have Ms. Sonia Swami, who is an head of IT and application engineering from O2 Power. And we have Ms. Parul Agarwal, who is an head digital from Renew Power. Now we'd like to hand over the session to Mr. Somashekar to take it ahead with other speaker panelists. Thank you.
Thank you, Sangeeta, and a very warm welcome to all the panelists here. I know everyone are special here, and I'm sure it's going to be a lot of learning for me as well from all these speakers. Let me just connect those things which I just ended in my presentation. People who are 40 plus here, I'm very sure you will all remember that one device called a floppy disk we had, where we stored 1.4 megabytes of data, right? Then we moved on to the CDs. See, these were our personal storage companions. But then we didn't realize slowly how our data is sitting out there on the cloud as the smartphones swamped us. Unknowingly, all the data, whether you want it or not, it is sitting out there in the cloud, right? So let us today see how the data from a solar PV plant, see, that's also a huge data. You are collecting data every minute there, and so many inverters, the generation data and everything, it's huge. So you need to move this data to the cloud platform. Not only cloud is not just storage, it's got many things more. So instead of actually me telling in layman terms, let me just move on to our first panelist here, Mr. Rao Rajendra Singh, who is a thought leader, a cloud champion, and he's currently working with Microsoft. He's got more than a decade's experience. I'm very sure he's gonna enlighten us today. Over to you, Rajendra. He's talking about cloud technologies and this cloud platform itself. Over to you, Rajendra.
Thanks, Soma. I really appreciate your introduction about myself and the experience that I have. And when you were starting about this floppy part, right? It was like nostalgia for all of us, right? Let me tell you a few things which is very important for this particular session. Number one, we need to think through about cloud. When we say cloud, most of the people say cloud is a technology, cloud is a platform. In my opinion, and generally I put this in every platform where I'm speaking, cloud is the model. Guys, cloud is the model. When I say cloud is the model, that means it basically gives you a framework. It basically gives you a purpose of doing something with more innovative way. Let me tell you, when I'm saying cloud and how it is transforming your business and how it is giving more efficiency to your business, generally I'm putting a very small word that's called 3SCI. SCI is in science. I always say that cloud is a science. And I'm saying this is a 3 times science that we generally use in our day-to-day purpose. What it stands for? 3S stands for speed, scale, security. And I'll come on those points little in my discussion. Before that, the C stands for compliance and I stands for innovation. That means a cloud can give you speed, scale, security, compliance, innovation ever than before that you can think of. Let's take example of 15 years back when you wanted to start any of your business. You were thinking about a lot of things. You were thinking about the hardware purchase. Lead time is 6 to 7 weeks. Then setup of those hardware. Then setup of the software. Buying the software. Putting a lot of things into the compliance side. A lot of things from the security side. Today, everything is going away. You wanted to start the business? We are giving you the platform. We are giving you the model of starting your business on a day one, on a 0 hour. If you have something innovative, you can start on a 0 hour. That's number one. Number two, which is very important. Earlier, people were thinking about the security and they were very concerned about the security part into the cloud. Let me put this thing very clear here in this forum. Large OEMs, including Microsoft, where I am working on right now, I can tell you one thing, that we people are putting more money and more, you can focus into the security side, which can give you the advantage of getting something out of the box. Let's take example of any DCI any compliance certification that you want earlier. You need to go through the long process, the audit companies and so many things. In today's world, we are giving you those things and built. If you want any of the certifications, my all cloud data centers are already certified. And the third thing is innovation. Earlier, when we were thinking about, like most of the people are complaining about, they say, oh, Microsoft is giving lots of new versions, right? And sometimes I say, yeah, it is important. It is important because we need to be more secure. And if we need to be more secure, we need to have a more innovative product. And earlier we were having 2010, 12, 14, 16 version. Today in world of the cloud, we are doing that innovation every day. But you people are not aware. Why? Because it is all there into the platform. That means when the cloud is moved into the model framework, that model further classified into three different forms. Number one, infrastructure as a service, which is most least, right? Any service provider can give you. Second one is a platform as a service. That's where the real cloud value comes in. And the best value comes in when you go for a software as a service. So having said that, you can believe in this model. Number one, consider this model more secure, more agile, more compliant, and the most important thing is we can give you more innovative services, which is daily basis we are putting our engineering efforts, which can give you the edge on your current technology. That's what all about the cloud, Soma, from my side.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Rajendra. And we have actually another very special person with us. And so I just told you about the floppy, but I'm very sure he has seen actually, devices actually even prior to that. He's got decades of experience, president and CEO of Bharat Light and Power. And, he has been with the GE, a company which is known for innovation for many years. Sir, it's my pleasure to welcome Mr. Tejpreet Chopra, who will give his views on cloud technology, what he really feels about all this transformation happening in this field. Over to you, sir. Sir, you're on mute. If you could please unmute. No, you are still muted. Yes, sir.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Brilliant.
Thank you.
Fantastic. First of all, thanks so much for that introduction and thanks for a wonderful presentation that you gave. No, I completely agree with you that there are huge amounts of benefits with the cloud, but I'll just share with you a little personal story of mine as to how we started thinking about it. We were investing very large sums of money building wind farms and solar farms across India. And what we would find at GE, we would make all these turbines and all the equipment that goes into these power plants. But what happens in wind farms and solar farms, it usually is the failure of the smallest component that shuts down a $3 million turbine. Until one day, about 5-6 years ago, one of my turbines burned down to ashes. So that's when I started figuring out, I said, we can't carry on like this. We are dependent upon the OEMs to do the O&M. And one of my turbines burning down. So that's when we created this platform on the cloud where we started monitoring hundreds of parameters of data every second. We started getting all that data and given the fact that at GE we used to make all these turbines, wrote a large number of algorithms to be able to predict failures in a gearbox, generator, bearing, hundreds of hours before the turbine shut down. And as a result of that, we were able to see financial returns go from machine availability, go from the high 80s to high 90s, and saw a huge improvement in financial returns. So that's what we did. And therefore, over the last 6-7 years, have created one of the largest industrial digital platforms because we've developed actually close to about 100 proprietary algorithms to predict failures in all these machines, wind farms and solar farms. So that's how the journey started in terms of creating this platform where we now are collecting data from thousands of wind turbines and solar farms all across the world, where we get all that data. And from our control center in Bangalore, we're able to predict failures in all these machines. Now, going back to your point, which you just shared in that super presentation, was the fact that the ability for us to go from, say, 100 megawatts to 5 gigawatts in a very short period of time is thanks to the cloud. One, our ability to scale very quickly, that the ability to connect any wind farm or any solar farm anywhere in Europe, in France, Germany, Spain, Italy, Portugal, very, very quickly makes it very easy. Two, the ability to do it very securely is very, very easy. Three, our ability to get data from any corner of the world is also become very, very cost effective. And therefore, when you've collected data from about nearly 5,000 turbines over the last 7 years, what it does is, given the fact that you've collected data from GE, Vestas, Siemens, Gamesa, from about 50 inverter types, therefore the computers over the 7 years have collected a vast amount of data using machine learning algorithms to be able to detect why is it that the GE turbine is going to fail or a Vestas turbine is going to fail, or why is it an ABB inverter is performing better in France and not so much in Germany. And that's when the real fun starts. Once you get all that data, you're able to then see the performance of one turbine or one inverter versus another inverter and actually detect all these failures starts going up. The last point I'll just say, which I think was you also mentioned in your presentation, is the fact that I think people underestimate the importance of cleaning data. We are right now integrating 220 solar farms for one of the biggest utilities in the world for all their solar farms across Europe. And it takes us many, many weeks to get the data cleansed because there's a lot of structured data, there's unstructured data. So I think that's one of the areas where people underestimate that if you don't spend enough time on cleaning the data, you don't get the right kinds of output. And I think, therefore, over time, we've developed a whole bunch of algorithms just to figure out how to cleanse the data very cost effectively so that it then gets pushed from the edge onto our platform. The last point I just want to make, the future is not about collecting the data. The future is about what do you do with all this data, because we are getting petabytes of data every year, every day from all over the world. And therefore, it is our ability to take these algorithms, and it's not about humans doing it, it's about machines doing it. How do you use these algorithms to be able to predict a failure in a gearbox, generate a bearing hundreds of hours before it shuts down automatically, not to have humans do it, but to have the machines do it. And I think that's the fun of what I see of this whole world that we're entering, is our ability to take all these algorithms using machine learning tools to predict failures is what's going to change the game. Lastly, on the solar side, as I said, with solar prices going from, my first solar project was 18 rupees a kilowatt hour 6-7 years ago. Today it's 2 rupees 36, 2 rupees 40. With that kind of price compression, the only way that we're going to be able to get any kind of economies of scale, or we're going to get any kind of real returns, if we completely digitize the entire operations and maintenance. That's the only way at 2 rupees 36 or 2 rupees 40, you're going to be able to get a return. And I think that's where the future is going to go, whether it's wind, whether it's solar, whether it's hydro, with this huge compression in energy costs, using all these digital tools of AI and IoT is where you're going to get the real juice or the real returns. So hopefully that gives you a perspective of our own personal journey in scaling it up and then growing it all over the world, collecting all this data, cleansing all this data, and then using all these algorithms to scale. And therefore drive efficiencies in O&M.
Thank you. Thank you very much, sir. I think that was a lot of data pointers, and I was really, wondering who that customer is with 80 rupees per, unit. So next, we will move on to women power in renewable industry. We have a very special panelist. She has started a new journey with the O2 Power. She's the IT head who's leading O2 Power's digital technology strategy. She got over 2 decades of experience in digital transformation. This is the buzzword, right? Digitization. And I'm very sure our next panelist, Mrs. Sonia Swami, has got a lot of insights to us. Over to you, Sonia.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much. This has been great, and this is really, brainstorming in terms of getting the input from everyone. This is a lot of knowledge for us to gain. Now, I got the most general of the topic to start with. Cloud computing is not new to any of us. It's not new to people. It's not new to businesses for all the good reasons now. From cost savings to increased productivity, from the speed and efficiency, accuracy, all what more, that all has been actually the reaped up benefits from cloud. And organizations started reaping those benefits years ago. But still we are into a phase that now people have started adopting it with full hands, and then they are using this technology to evaluate better future. That is what, is the target. With the proliferation of digitalization, which we started a few years back, we have actually become the ultimate digital customers. If you look at the data, in many of the surveys, it is highlighted that more than 67% of the organizations are really moving on cloud. And we will be migrating much more into the next few years. And thanks to these work from home era that we have now got as a new normal, we anyways has reached another level. We are really breaking these barriers in cyberspace, I would say, with the quintessential cloud demand for the growth and change that we have been getting. As we were listening, what kind of data centers are available? We have hyperscale data center facilities, agile models, infrastructure and organizations. And I would really like to agree with Rao that yes, it is entirely a model being presented on table, where the organizations into these agile environments are really integrated or are really scaling up seamlessly to cater the disruptive market trends also. And understanding, because we also got few of the inputs and the live scenarios from Sir, to how, why did we reach to a consensus that yes, we reach level. Business, I think that really needed a freedom and a liberty, wherein they can initialize certain things, and then they can analyze the data, because it is not storing data as Sir said. It is basically what do we do with that data? How are we using this data in order to predict a better future, in order to make this organization do much more than currently what we are capable of doing? And most importantly, having a safe environment or a secure environment in which assets, data, our tools are safely guarded, and wherein we can evaluate that what kind of errors are, we can observe and ascertain that these are the errors which are about to come, and this would come. And looking at the production cost, I think renewable energy has really boosted a lot of popularity in last few decades, specifically when the production cost and the operational cost has gone significantly down. If we look at the data, which even Sir was explaining that how, the amounts that are differing from last 6-7 years to now. And moving on to the infrastructure or the digitalization really needed in the renewable energy, it should be a blend of right set of people, right distribution of people and technology, which lowers the TCO, which is the first and foremost agenda of all organizations. And but at the same time, ensuring continuous monitoring. Because when Soma started with the session, I was really thrilled to look at those photographs wherein we were looking at the gaps. And then we know that there were misconfigurations, there were security lapses. All these should be really captured in a way that the data is seamlessly presented within no time lag. So this is over the general thing. Now, if we talk about tool specific, we all know SCADA operations, and we have really got a very good presentation when we started with session. And moving in the SCADA, earlier we had the on-premise traditional system. In cloud, SCADA system is really moving the renewable energy business away from the traditional way of working. At the same time, we are actually beating the geographical challenges that we have really observed a lot into long solar, very large solar fields and wind farms, which effectively signifies that we really do not need a lot of servers. We can work with less servers. We can serve with less in on-premise infrastructure that has been set up. But at the same time, we can lower the operational cost specifically by sharing a lot of information across servers. And till date, also, there are many organizations who are still substituting these internal storage services over cloud. And I really hope we continue to do so for a long time. The benefits that we reap, we are entering into virtualization. And virtualization, as I said, that we do not need a vast infrastructure set of services. We, as Rao started with, we have pay as you go model. We really have, because this particular model has brought in a lot of low profile organizations into a league where we know that you can actually get benefited with this kind of model, and you can invest less, very less in comparison to use. We can have a shared cloud being used by multiple organizations, wherein we are lowering down the operational cost significantly, and at the same time we are using the most of the advanced technologies available throughout. After virtualization, we need automation. Normally, when we go to automation and analytics, we try to capture it with three A's specifically. We have accuracy. We really need accurate data, because our prediction, our analysis, our observations, and the management decisions, the business strategies are really dependent on the data we present to them. The data is supposed to be accurate, and whatever errors, whatever issues, misconfiguration, security lapse should be actually highlighted in the right time, so that we can take right actions within the best time frame that we can have. We can have, ultimately that goes to the action part. So from the accuracy of data, we are automizing the products and systems, and finally moving to the action that we have to take. Now, the most important technology through all SCADA operations, which are actually offered through different products available in the market, we have big data and predictive analysis. I'll just take one or two examples wherein, with solar and wind specifically, we can actually forecast with this technology the weather conditions well in advance, so that we know, because we saw that it was not only rain, it was not the drought, it was only rain which actually spoiled all of this to a biggest extent. Now, wherein we know that there are technologies available which can transform this, which can actually highlight these issues, errors well in advance, and the actions can be taken. Companies are moving towards virtual irradiance also. This also actually intensify that how are we capturing the power of sun, and where are the places where we will be capturing it little more, lesser, and we can benefit the productivity all these ways. Under operations and maintenance also, at times we take a decision that in a particular solar field, we may choose to increase the number of solar panels. But at the same time, we can also decide and evaluate over solving out, or maybe, increasing the productivity of the current solar panels involved. We can actually we lower down the maintenance cost, and that is how the operation and maintenance department works. And out of all this, the key is not, what kind of cloud technology should be used. The key is that using the best combination, which is actually offering the different data techniques to increase the efficiency, capturing the data accurately, and presenting it the right set of dashboards and data analytics, so that we can take the right set of decisions in order to make the organization do much better and much more, attain more heights. I think that is what I wanted to highlight on cloud technologies. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you, Sonia. A lot of insights here. I have a lot of questions here for the panelists, but before that, we have one more panelist here who hasn't spoken at all. I'll invite her first. So she's a DGM Business Development at Renewable. Again, a very experienced person. She's got a lot of experience in energy and infrastructure sector, specifically focusing on policy advocacy, investment, de-investment. So it's slightly it's a non-technical field for me. So let's hear it from Parul Agarwal, our next panelist. Welcome, Parul.
Thank you, Mr. Somashekar. I think you referred to my LinkedIn profile while introducing me, which I've not updated since quite some time now. So basically, I head a digital department at Renew. And I think my stories, rather Renew stories, very similar to what has been shared by Mr. Tejpreet Chopra. If I'll share you about Renew story, the company started from 25 megawatt in 2012 to 100 megawatt today. From one site to more than 110 sites today, from one state to more than 10 states presence in the country. Now, when do you talk about a company which is growing at such a fast pace in a very short span of time, the focus has always been on to add up more and more assets, to have more and more assets, more and more assets. But over a period of time, the company realized that the challenge that we face today is very different than we were facing earlier. And that is how this complete digital journey for the Renew started, and this complete cloud transformation journey as well for the company started. And we realized this thing that we can't be adding assets more and more without even realizing what is the full potential of that asset. And as highlighted by Mr. Tejpreet as well, it is not just about collecting data and having it at a single platform, but rather what do you do of that data? For example, as on date, Renew has more than 58 TB of data. Every year you are collecting more and more TBs of data. But what do you do of that data? How do you analyze that data? What kind of inputs do you derive from that? And accordingly, you can take action. And I think that is where cloud is something which is very helpful for any company which is into digital transformation. Because as highlighted by various panelists here earlier as well, that it brings in scale and speed, efficiency, reliability, a lot many things which is very critical in any renewable company to bring in value to the assets, to ensure that you generate maximum out of the same asset without incurring any additional capex. That is the power that cloud gives you. You are incurring such minimal cost, and you are actually not incurring any additional capex on the asset per se, but just by analyzing the data, you are processing the data on that cloud by using advanced analytics, machine learning. You are doing predictive maintenance, preventive maintenance of your machines, and this is that you are deriving so much of value from the data. So for Renew, this complete our system got into cloud much earlier, but this journey of transformation into digital more so started 2 years ago, wherein we started rather analyzing this data more and more, and we developed these models on predictive analysis, advanced analytics, and now we are rather predicting that which component of my turbine would go bad. When should I clean my modules? Rather than cleaning them twice in a month, irrespective of which geography of the region it is in, when should I clean it? So such kind of inputs that we are getting, that is possible only because of the cloud, the potential that cloud has given us. The speed and scale at which you can do transformation within your company is immense with cloud in hand. But I think one of the key thing is, I think a lot many companies are still not being able to go into this journey, is that you need to realize that it has immense potential. You need to have a very strong business model to realize that potential. And three thing is that you need to make it sustainable. As in, whatever cost you are incurring for the purpose of this cloud, you need to give that input from that cloud. You should use it in such a way, a sustainable business model, that you are deriving a lot more from that than the capex you are incurring, which is anyways very nominal. So those are 2 cents. I think my thoughts are very similar to what Mr. Tejpreet rather shared earlier, that it's one, collecting all the correct data, and all the more, how do you analyze that data to ensure that you maintain your asset properly, increase the yield, and minimize the downtime, increase the operational efficiency of the employees. So these are the key things that we are focusing on.
Thanks a lot, Parul. I think so far what we heard from all of the panelists, one thing is common. It's about data, and cloud is the best, and start digitizing it. So I'm really glad that all like-minded people here together. But then when we really go to the field, there are some big fishers. Like, okay, I would still call BLP, Renew, they're out there, the big players who understand, who think about the future. But there are people, in the segment of 10 to 30 megawatt. So when we talk to them, they still say, no, we want the data in our server only. If you want to the cloud, okay, you push the data once in a week, but then we don't want to cloud at all. So these are the kind of things, we hear in the field. So maybe this question is for Rao Rajendra. What do you think in the future? So this concept of a local data center. So do you see this completely, vanish and eventually there will be only cloud, or do you think there will still be need to have our local servers?
Sure. So let me just take you some 7, 8 years back, right? I have started my cloud journey since 2010. And when I started my cloud journey, forget about right now, we are discussing about the data and analytics, which Parul and Tejpreet is talking about, right? And Sonia is very well articulated about the cloud technologies and all, right? Even the big companies was having a lot of reluctance around the cloud technologies. They all are saying that no, maybe we are not cloud ready, right? The one important thing always I see or I heard in last 8 to 10 years is we are not cloud ready. Everybody. When I'm going to meet and I'm saying that guys, let's have one kind of discussion where we can tell you that what kind of advantage you are getting. They're saying we are not cloud ready. Let me tell you the journey that I've started in 2010 on cloud to 2020 is completely changed. The big thing which we're talking about from the Sonia side is that the work from home is a new normal now, right? That goes into more into digitalization phase. In last 6 months, Soma, let me tell you that the more than 100 customer called me and asked me to do something with their existing infrastructure move into the cloud. And I'm very well quoted here. My CEO, Satya Nadella, was saying that the 2.5 years of digital transformation has been done into the 6 months. So the time has been changed in the last 6 months, Soma, number one. Number two, if you ask me, because I am working with, I'm very fortunate enough to work with some of the great renewable energy companies, and Renew Power is one of my customer. I am working with Vikram Solar, SB Energy, kind of different segment and different kind of segment you can say, from an energy produce, right? Let me tell you, everybody is thinking about on a two parameters. Number one, edge will be continued. We understand as a cloud provider, we also understand that edge cannot be displaced by any other things. So what we are doing, we are working on a hybrid. So if you ask me, I think the future is hybrid. Yes, there is a need of having something at on-premise, although not really to putting everything into your server and sending once in a week into the cloud. No, that's not the model. But yes, there will be a need of hybrid. We are investing. I can tell you about our investment model. We are investing heavily into edge model, where we are developing devices which can capture the data as the edge, and then it can easily sync back to the cloud. The one last thing that from my side, when I already quoted out the hybrid cloud and all, I just wanted to pick one point from Tej, and he mentioned that future is not about collecting the data. Future is all about how and what you can get out of that data. Let me tell you, I am going one step further, and I'm saying what you are trying to achieve from the data is one thing. Are you going to transform your business, or maybe are you going to get some really valuable insight, whether it's a predictive, prospective, or the primitive kind of maintenance, or the model? What kind of model you are developing on that kind of data, where exactly the cloud is helping? Because the scale that you need to churning out the data, cleansing out the data, that cloud can provide, you cannot get that power of compute at on-premise. So thing is very simple. Yes, collecting the data, getting something out of data, but that meaningful outcome of the data only possible when you invest into compute. The compute is easily available into the cloud. So guys, my 2 cents here is hybrid is the new normal. Yes, we are investing into that, but the power of the cloud can provide you the more insights ever than before that you wanted to run your business or your with more efficiency. That's all from my side, Soma.
Yeah, thanks, Rajendra. I'm very sure this terminology, cloud ready, is something which we really have to propagate out here. So this question is for Tej. Sir, one of our experiences, of course, we talk about cloud, and there is definitely a recurring charges which the customer has to bear. And the pattern, what we are seeing is, in India, this concept of recurring charges, they just don't want to pay. They think whatever is the cloud, actually, it is free. Now, since BLP, you have a plant across the world, and I'm very sure you have a portfolio spread across. Do you see the same mentality here? That is, you have varied charges which you incur to the cloud, or do you see a cultural issue for bringing this cloud mentality in India? So that's the main question. Yes, sir.
Thanks so much. That's my turn. I might have to drop off just after this question because I've got to go for another meeting. But just very quickly, I think it's here to stay. I think, like all the other panelists said, I completely agree with their views that the fact that what the cloud is really doing is converting CapEx to OpEx. And therefore, it's actually, just to your point, it's actually making the whole process more affordable rather than more expensive. Because if I have to go and get my own server, I have to get an N+1, I have to get N+2, I have to get all my backups, I have to get my infrastructure people. So I would rather get a more scalable model. Where today, if I'm connecting, pick a number, 5 of the largest utilities in the world, where I'm getting data from thousands of wind turbines from all the biggest global utilities onto the platform. And the platform runs all these algorithms to where we can predict failures. The only way I can do that is on the cloud. I can't do it any other way. So that's number one. Number two is, I think the willingness of customers around the world in their willingness to pay a subscription charge every month is actually increasing. Because now, like I said, they don't have to think about all the other backup costs that have to go in. They just have to pay one cost. So you just pay an integration fee one time upfront, and then a very, very low subscription cost every month in order to get the intelligence. And the advantage that customers get is this. Given the fact that at GE, we used to make all these turbines, GE is never going to give data to Siemens. Siemens is not going to give data to Vestas. Vestas is not going to give data to Enercon. Whereas the benefit we have is we are a neutral party. We get data from 19 turbine types. It doesn't matter whether it's a GE, Vestas, Siemens, Gamesa, number one. Number two is when we've collected data from thousands of wind turbines and solar farms for 6-7 years from all across the world, the machines have now gotten smarter to understand which bearing is failing in Germany and why it's not failing in Spain, even if it's the same turbine. So that's the kind of insights it gets. So I think there's no doubt, Soma, that now I think customers do value one, it is an operating basis, not a CapEx basis. Two is the fact that the benefit of many years of learning that the cloud has developed, and therefore the customers are getting that. And three, they'd rather pay an OpEx cost rather than invest in subscription, servers, etc. And it gets it at a very low cost every month. And lastly, you can scale very easily. Customers like that. Customers can go up, can come down very, very quickly. They want to add another 100 megawatts. It's just in the switch of a button, you can connect the next 100 megawatts. So it's an easy to go up or go down. And the last thing I'll just say is this, is that it's all becoming mobile. The ability for some of the big CEOs in Europe that can track 15 gigawatts on his phone is a very, very powerful amount of information that the CEO can have walking on his phone. So with some of these big utilities, he can now track on his phone, why is turbine number 22 in France not working? Why is turbine number 67 in Sweden not working? What went wrong? And immediately he's able to speak to the site engineer to find out why the main bearing failed. So this digital world, the way you can connect OEM to customer to supplier to bring it into a connected world, you can only do that through the cloud. You can't do it any other way.
Yeah, thank you, Tej sir. So thank you so much actually for being with us. I know that actually you had to rush to a meeting. Really appreciate your time. So the next question is for Sonia. So you have been IT head, and I'm very sure you would have seen different variety of cloud services, right? So my question is, Rao, don't answer this, okay? So my question is, do you have to be really worried about which service I use, Azure or Amazon or something, or it's interoperable?
So basically, I would say that yes, a lot of factors it is dependent on. I think Rao is anyways laughing on that. So yes, when we start exploring these cloud opportunities, we really have to be vigilant that what are we getting and what are our targets. So one, we have the requirement, we have the purpose defined clearly, and second is, what is serving the best fitment of the entire head of it, but also at the time, are we what pieces different applications are we using, what kind of data already available with us is integrated with each of these systems. So is this data available only on premise, or do we already have an integration middle layer which is actually connecting these data? And now if we go to cloud, how easy this migration could be and how seamless can it be? Because the biggest headache of having TBs, as Parul mentioned, that yes, we have TBs of data. Thinking of migrating this level of data itself is a nightmare. We have to actually chalk out the plan, and so that it can be done streaming everything. The office and or the organization operations should not be disturbed at all. At the same time, we are migrating this data on cloud and serving the best way and having the user satisfied, because the basic because every organization has got users there, and these are the internal customers we have. We have to make them satisfied. We have to make have the operations moving as if nothing happened. There is no change at all. So I think the factors should be listed very clearly before we identify whether it is AWS or Microsoft or something else.
Okay, thank you. So Rao, you can still actually give your thoughts here. I was just kidding. Yeah.
I'm really very much aligned with Sonia what she's saying, and to be very honest, right, I'm being associated with Microsoft. I do see value, and generally I believe that whenever I'm talking and I'm meeting my customer like Sonia, Parul, kind of people, IT head, and all the stuff, I generally put the value first, right? And it has to be a value first in any of the platform. Let me tell you, none of the platform are really, all platform are having some sort of uniqueness, fitment for your organization. You need to check for that. The one very important point which Sonia brings beautifully and very nicely articulated is look at out your 360-degree environment. How it is everything fitting into or how it is joining the dots from whether it is what kind of mailing system you have, what kind of ERP you have. Generally, when I go and meet my customers, Soma, I can tell only one thing, that it's all about 360-degree. We can give you not only from a infrastructure as a service or the platform as a service, we also have a software as a service. But at the same time, it's a competitive world, and I respect all my competitors. And I also believe that they are also doing a great work. So my position here, Soma, is very neutral. I do see value in selling the Microsoft Azure platform. I'm more than happy to come down at any of the place and give them what kind of value we bring. But at the same time, I believe everybody brings the value. It's all about fitment. Yes, if I will be called, I'm sure that I will be on the winning side.
Thank you, Rao. That's truly professional. That's a way actually we need to think. This place for everybody in this world. So Sangeeta, a quick time check. How much time do we have?
So exactly 5 minutes more. If you could please go ahead with Q&As, because we have received a few questions in your discuss box.
Okay. Yeah, let's do that actually. Then let's see if we have questions. So unless my other panelists, do you have any other comments to add on before going to Q&A? Okay. Okay, Sangeeta, we can actually go for an Q&A. Are there any questions posted so far?
Yes, sir. If you see the audience public box over there, if you go to discuss box.
Yeah, audience public, okay.
You'll have to drag a little up.
Okay, I see it here. All right. So the first one I will not take it because this is more about from a company presentation. So I will respond to Sahil later. Okay, somebody's already responded there. All right. How do we deal with the? Okay, so having all the plant data on cloud is a great idea, but how do we deal with the poor connectivity of internet in rural areas? So I will take this question myself because we have experience with this. Now, what we have done is the edge boxes sitting there. So I'm not saying this is an instance where you don't have internet connection at all. If you really see, in all the sites which have gone after the geostorm, everywhere we do get internet, right? Now, the internet connections might be intermittent. That time, what the edge device does is, in our case, Etilog, our hardware, it stores the data, and when the internet is actually all right, it pushes the data. So if you can choose hardwares of those capabilities, maybe this poor connectivity of internet issues can be resolved. There's a good handshaking which happens with the cloud, and this is something which is definitely solvable. Okay, then let me see for other questions here. Okay, I think that was the only specific question, Sangeeta, I see there.
Yes, sir, and one was addressed to you, specifically to you. Sahil has asked for it. So while comparing.
So how does the hardware compare? This one you're talking about?
Yes.
All right. So this is the one actually I thought I can defer this because it is a direct competition info we are talking about. Yes, there are actually difference in features compared with our competitions. The way Rao was telling earlier. So ours is designed very specific to solar PV plants and has got features like you can store the data up to 30 days. Even the internet connection is not there. Later on, once the internet connection is resumed, the data can go in there. So that is one of the main features, and it seamlessly talks to our cloud platform. Okay, so I would not want to comment on the other data loggers at this point in time.
Okay, sir. In that case, we can have closing remarks from each speaker, and then we can conclude the panel.
Okay, so thank you so much. So Parul, are there any other thoughts from you, because you just spoke once? Okay, maybe she's.
I was talking. I was talking over mute. Yes, so I was saying that no more thoughts. I think the panelists over here have covered all the thoughts that I had. So we all resonate.
Okay.
Thoughts are very similar.
Thanks. Thanks, Parul. So just to summarize this discussion, everyone from their experience spoke that moving on to cloud technology is the best thing that can happen. And we being leaders in this industry, renewable industry, I think we need to educate our client as much as possible to move towards this technology. As Mr. Rao was mentioning, last 6 months, he has already seen a big change, which is excellent. I'm very sure, necessity is the mother of all needs, right? So I also feel that actually the flow will continue. But then the takeaways to me, cloud is an essential thing. It's the backbone wherein for a renewable industry, if you want to compare data from different sites, different geographies, different locations. If you want to perform analytics, you need to have your data in a centralized place. And for that, you should not be depending upon your local servers. Believe in cloud technology, and the cloud technology, it is scalable. So today you have only 50 megawatts of plants, and tomorrow as you grow, you head towards 1 gigawatt or 5 gigawatt. Seamlessly, you can turn on the switches to scale your infrastructure. It is as easy as that. So my appeal to everyone, the audience, please educate this about cloud technology. And I'm very sure the next year, when such kind of forms, people will not be talking anymore on the local servers at all. So it is going to be all about data analytics and what decisions the data can tell us, or what insights can we get about the plant's renewable assets. So over to you, Sangeeta, and thank you very much for providing this opportunity. And thank you to your panelists for supporting me in this session.
Well, thank you all the key panelists for such invaluable discussions that we had. Thank you for your virtual presence once again. With this, we would like to conclude today's virtual conference. Attendees, please note, don't miss the opportunity to be part of our virtual gala award ceremony, that is Renewable Energy Digital Awards India 2020, one of its kinds award ceremony that recognizes and celebrates companies and technologies that have been contributed outstandingly to promoting and achieving the Indian renewable energy sector in digital space and beyond. Join us today from 6 p.m. onwards. You can grab your free access passes for this exciting event. The registration link is provided on your discuss box. I would like to once again thank our platinum partner Smart Helio and our silver partner NMN Technologies for joining us today. Attendees, please note the floor is going to be open for the next 15 minutes, wherein you can network in the lounge and the exhibition area and meet our premium partners. Thank you very much. Thanks for joining.
Thank you.
Thank you all for the opportunity.
Thank you so much.